Thank you. I just want to say I did put my lipstick on because I knew I would be speaking. And I never leave home without it, so. I will never forget the special night 2 years ago when I was so honored to stand up here in the company of three giants of SAG-AFTRA: David White, Mathis Dunn, and our late president, Ken Howard. And tonight I'm given another honor, that of introducing our next Gold Card recipient. Now, this honoree has come a long way since being a doorman for New York's Wellington Hotel. And the qualifications for being a doorman were quite tough. Number one, stand by a door. And number two, open it. This gentleman mastered the craft and was soon ready to begin a career as an actor. And you know, he had the preparation. And while most of us were being told by casting directors to open the door and don't let it hit you on the ass on the way out, this gentleman quickly became a familiar face on the big and small screen with roles in popular television series and movies. Series like China Beach, NCIS and JAG, and movies like The Hunt for Red October. And this is a little known. As a matter of fact, he became so accomplished at playing naval officers that whenever the call went out for a seaman, his was the first phone to ring. Wow, I didn't write that. Yeah, okay, I did, all right. But that's not the reason we honor him today. His exemplary service to the union and its members knows no bounds. Before becoming SAG-AFTRA's first executive vice president, he helped lead Screen Actors Guild as its first national vice president and as a member of the Hollywood and national boards. He was a key architect and fierce advocate of the merger, believing in his heart that combining Screen Actors Guild and AFTRA would be of profound benefit to both memberships. Working tirelessly day after day, it was his activism and leadership on behalf of the Group for One union that made SAG-AFTRA a reality. It was he who convinced Ken Howard to become involved in union service, something that we are all certainly grateful for. And of course, by now, I think most of you know that I am speaking of Ned Vaughn. From its foundation forward, Ned has helped SAG-AFTRA become what it is today: our union, our strength, our future. His extraordinary dedication to this union is only surpassed by his commitment and love of his family. His wife, Abigail, and his 5 children come before career, obviously. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I knew that. It came before his career, before himself, and before anything. My apologies for that misquote. Let's take a look right now.
Ned Vaughn was SAG-AFTRA's first executive vice president. A passionate advocate for members, Ned also served in governance in Screen Actors Guild, on the Hollywood Branch Board, the National Board, and as first national vice president. But a list of the offices he's held doesn't begin to do justice to his contribution to the union. Ned was one of the key voices in the merger of SAG and AFTRA, and he worked tirelessly with the Group for One union to accomplish what had been attempted unsuccessfully multiple times before. He was also instrumental in convincing the late Ken Howard, SAG-AFTRA's first president, to become involved in union service. And Ken made a point of thanking him when he received his own gold card in 2015.
And I'd always hoped that I would be in some public setting where I could say this one thing to him that everyone could hear and know from the bottom of my heart. You son of a bitch.
His professional resume is no less impressive, spanning film, television, and video games. On the silver screen, he can be seen in The Hunt for Red October, Apollo 13, and Frost Nixon. And he has appeared on the television shows Hawaii Five-0, Grey's Anatomy, China Beach, and Castle, just to name a few. We are truly grateful for his contributions and are pleased to present the George Heller Memorial Award to Ned Vaughn.
Ned Vaughn, open the door and come on in. Golly. Thank you. Where's my speech? There's no speech. No. Thank you so much. Golly, this is such an honor. It's funny, I noticed in that clip that it said that I worked tirelessly. No, I was tired. I was tired a lot, trust me. It wasn't tireless. Thank you so much for this. This is wonderful. And of course, it makes me recall that night 2 years ago when my dear friend Ken Howard was honored with this award, and that makes it even more special for me. I got to think this is something like it feels to win, a big acting award for a role that you would just die to play, right? I mean, a role you'd do for free. Maybe that's a little too on the nose. But the point that I'm trying to make is that to be recognized for work that has already been so richly rewarding is just lovely. And just like an acting role, great acting role, it's going to challenge you. It's going to confront you. It's going to force you to learn new things and to stretch and adapt and grow. And my union service has done all that for me and more. And also, like an acting job, the real reward is in doing the work. I mean, this recognition is very sweet, and I thank you for it. But getting together with so many remarkable, talented people to work through those tough spots and get beyond them to the point that we were able to create something with real meaning and lasting impact, that was a big reward. And I thank you so much for the opportunity. It's actually, as I came to convention, I was thinking about this, and I realized that tomorrow is exactly 10 years to the day that a group of concerned SAG and AFTRA members met for the first time formally to discuss what we could do about the rapidly deteriorating relationship between our unions. And we became publicly active. We started meeting with members wherever we could. We petitioned the board with our concerns, and after about 6 months, the host of that initial meeting, Amy Aquino, who has, of course, served as our secretary-treasurer, Amy Aquino and I, we had a fateful conversation where we said, look, we agreed with many people that the only way to really fix
this worsening predicament was to call for a merger of SAG and AFTRA, and we committed to form an organization that would gather a large group of candidates to run for positions on the boards of our unions. And we took the name Unite for Strength. And that was important because that wasn't just a name, that was our statement of purpose. And I will never be anything but tremendously proud and deeply, deeply grateful for all the many remarkable people who ultimately helped us fulfill that purpose. I mentioned Amy, who, look, simply put, without her early contributions, the group would never have taken shape in the way that it did. If I were to discuss the singular importance of Ken, who was the right man for a very crucial job, we'd be here a long time. And our current wonderful president, Gabrielle Carteris. I got to tell you something. I am not surprised in the least that she is president, because I got to tell you, from the moment I met her, she has shown herself to be one of the most courageous, selfless leaders that I've ever encountered. So that's no surprise. But look, you know, myself and Ken and Amy, we were always, you know, right out front in this fight. And I really do feel like I need to thank some people who are not necessarily right on the front lines, but they were a half step behind, and they were vitally important. I mean, I saw somebody today at convention who really brought this up in me. It was Michelle Dunker. I don't know how many of you know Michelle, but look, in the early days of Unite for Strength, I spent so many midnight hours with her poring over election materials and figuring out what, and look, you know, you think it's tough having an election every couple of years. We used to do it every year, and I know a lot of you, it's, my God, it's brutal. And we would, you know, Michelle helped me get through that, and Ari Gross and Todd Waring, people who didn't necessarily run for office, but they were always there. And then there's this group that I just consider them like the beating heart of this movement that sprang up. Talking about people like Clyde Kasatsu and Ellen Crawford and Jenny O'Hara and Bill Charlton, Stacey Travis, Woody Schultz, and the man who defines Mensch, Asaf Cohen. I mean, these are people who just, they gave and gave and gave, and they're still giving. And I thank them. I mean, I was only able to shine in my role because I had their support, and each one of them is a star in his or her own right. And you know, this thing that we did, this massive thing that we did, it was not one-sided. And so I do have to say that we had these incredible counterparts. I was representing SAG in that process, but we had these incredible counterparts from the AFTRA side who were very ably led in the merger process by Roberta Reardon and Kim Roberts-Hedgepeth. And they deserve a tremendous amount of credit for what we achieved. And I thank them, you know, and then to see right there's David White, and there's John McGuire, and I think about our staff, and I spent a lot of incredibly late nights with these people trying to figure out how we were going to make this thing happen. And I'm so grateful to you, David. I know you're going to go down as one of the great leaders of our union. I'm so proud to be your friend. And look, I'm inspired by, this is a person whose leadership inspires me. I don't say that cheaply. He's an inspirational leader. And John's picture is next to eminence grise in the dictionary. And you look it up when you get home if you don't know. I mean, but really, we all steal our cues from John McGuire. Duncan, where are you, Duncan? Duncan Crabtree, Ireland. I say, no, you would expect that kind of wisdom in a man of John's experience, but Duncan still doesn't look like he graduated from high school. And yet, He is one of the smartest, wisest, and most fundamentally decent people I have ever met. And I really love him, and he's a great friend. Pam Greenwald, where are you, Pam? Pam. Look, I don't know how this happens, but there is like, I don't understand how somebody can be cheerful or fake a reasonable facsimile of it when you're pounding out like a crucial press release at 4 in the morning because the meeting ended like an hour ago. But Pam pulls it off every time. It was just amazing. Thank you. Somebody talked about Mike Hodge earlier, and man, I was so sad that I didn't get to see Mike here. I was counting on seeing him here. I loved him, and he was a tremendous force. And another person in New York, another person in New York that I just, he's never, well, I don't remember seeing him at these things, but I see him a lot otherwise, and he's a huge influence on me, and it's Richard Masser, who is, I think of him as like the thorny lion from New York, who has taught me so much by example. There's another person from New York that I must thank, and that's Rebecca Damon, our newly re-elected EVP. Look, here's the thing about the way Rebecca and I worked during the very long and arduous merger process. At the end of it, when we were having these final G1 meetings that went on for like about 10 days or something, it was nuts. But there were many steps to this thing. We had the President's Forum and then the G1. It just went on and on and on. And I was kind of having to weigh in on many aspects of all this. It was a little bit like standing in a hurricane and juggling chainsaws that were on fire. It was nuts. And Rebecca, where are you? Rebecca, thank you, because you kept me from getting burned or cut or blown over, and you helped us figure out how she can see the thing, no matter how big or complex it is, and figure out how to help you build it. And it's a rare skill, so thank you so much. And of course, the person that I most have to thank, unfortunately, is not here tonight, but it is my beloved wife, Adelaide, who, look, let me give you, here's the easiest way to sort of sketch out her contribution to this. When Unite for Strength elected its first board members in 2008, my 5 kids, I had to, yes, 5, we were enthusiastic. Our 5 kids were 1, 4 Forrest twins, 7, and 9. Yeah, that's when I started. When the unions merged on March 30th, 2012, they were 4, 7, 7, 10, and 12. That was a lot of life in my home, and I could not have come and done my thing at the union week after week after year to get this thing built. It wasn't just with her tolerance. It wasn't just with her encouragement. It was with her unreserved love and support, and I will never be able to thank her enough. And I don't know if there's a camera there, and I'll show her this tape. Darling, I love you so much, and I thank you so much. And everybody thanks you so much, because I couldn't have been here doing it without you. And the last, it's funny, I mentioned the kids. This is the last thing I'll say, but this is just too good not to share. Our oldest daughter is now just about to turn 18, and she just started college this fall. And she texted me. She's not surprisingly a fine young actress. And among the classes that she's taking here in her freshman year is a class called Theatrical Heritage. And she texted me one day from her class. She said, "Hey, Dad, look what we're studying." And it was a photo of a PowerPoint slide. It said, "The Working Life of an Actor." And there were 3 bullets underneath, and it said, Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, Actors Equity Association. And I immediately text her back and say, "Hey, sweetie, that's great, but tell your professor her slide's about 5 years out of date. And if you want to, you can tell her that your dad had something to do with that." So thank you so much for this, and thank you for the opportunity to serve this great union. Thank you.